This show furnished by Karl Gerber and Employment Lawyers Group.
Objection! Objection!
Talk Radio 790 KABC. You're listening to the Karl Gerber Workplace Lawyer Show, and I'm Karl Gerber, real workplace lawyer. There's some guy on the phone who wants to mess around with us. I don't mess around with guys, and I don't think my guest, Cincent, does either. Oh, the caller is Michael Grant, the comedian. He's not related to Dr. Tony Grant. I don't think so. Let him through. I want to hear what he has to say.
Hi, it's Michael Grant. Most of you have probably heard of me as the guy that invented the Pez dispenser for adults. It comes in 2 flavors, Prozac and Tums. It's doing well.
Okay. Do you have any other material you want to give us?
Absolutely. It's good to be on with you. I have this girlfriend. She's half Jewish and half Polish. Anything that she can't get at a discount, she just pays double for. Sweet kid.
Why are you with a half woman? You half a man? No, don't show us what you've got. Did I just do a PC faux pas in this whole half and half thing? And I'm supposed to be a discrimination lawyer.
Well, I might need a lawyer soon. Things have turned for me. The police asked me why I'm living in my van, and I said, well, officer, it started as a great camping trip, and then the kids died.
Hey, comedian guy, did you see Bigfoot? I seen him more than I wanted to. He's hairy for a reason. Between me and you, there's a reason he's all by himself out there. You can smell him a mile away. And next time, I'm bringing a grooming kit with aftershave for that guy.
This leads to a rather unpleasant but most interesting question. I wonder how big Remus Helm's foot is.
Size 14. I've got one of his old shoes.
Thank you for putting up with us, Michael. Don't touch the dial. The rest of the show will be better than the beginning.
Thank you. Goodbye.
See you later, comedian man.
Good evening, ladies and jerks.
Hey, that's discrimination. You're calling all men jerks? I've sued for that before.
Correction, you're the only jerk.
Hey, that's no way to treat your guests.
You were referred by Remus Helms, were you not?
Aren't most of your guests?
And that's why I called you a jerk.
Hey, just because you think we're weird doesn't mean we're jerks.
You're right. For at least the next 10 minutes, I'll withhold judgment as to whether you're a jerk.
I better make my point quick, then.
You have to, because the first 30 seconds of the show, if it isn't good, people tune out.
I'm jumping up and down. Getting ready to try out that new Cindy the sex robot. I gotta keep my aerobic exercises up there.
It only took about 10 seconds to determine you're creepy.
I'll be done with my exercises in about 5 minutes. Can you get back to me then? Just 5 minutes.
I'm going to start the show regardless of my guest. Yeah, who let him in? Whether he's ready, this is episode 65 of the Karl Gerber Workplace Lawyer Show. This show is now officially a senior citizen. Isn't that interesting? 65 used to be considered retirement age. Now economists say if you take Social Security before 70, you're losing a considerable amount of Social Security money over your retirement lifespan.
I heard about a new law the government signed about not being able to discriminate against workers on account of their hair.
Well, I'm not making this up. It's called the Crown Act. It was Senate Bill 188. As of July 1st, 2019, it got amended into California Government Code Section 12926, which is the code section with definitions on issues relevant to discrimination in the Fair Employment and Housing Act. That's FEHA, if you care.
I thought the Crown Act was about your teeth. I was over at the carrot section at the Vallarta Market in Silma, and I saw Dr. Denton. You know, the dentist who thinks he's an Easter bunny? Hoppity hop, He was chewing on a big, long, fat carrot, rambling off on the Crown Act.
I was under the impression he didn't live anywhere near Silmar.
He don't. He's been barred from all the markets in like a 20-mile or more radius of where he holes up.
That nut job from episode 53. I'd have to say he's a jerk, breaking and entering a bunch of Orthodox Jewish homes on some Shabbat that happened to be the first night of Seder and drinking all those cups of wine left out for the prophet Eliyahu.
He got his comeuppance, It turned him into a rabbit. He's pretty down to earth now. Sometimes we get together and we dig little holes with spades.
Well, that's completely normal activity. Don't we all just go around digging little holes with spades while in the company of the dentist who is in an Easter Bunny costume?
You don't see me wearing no unusual costume today, huh? But they fired me because of my hair.
I can see that you don't have any hair. Did you decide to shave, or did they fire you because they felt you not having hair was, well, due to your age, obviously over 40, which is age discrimination?
Why do you say obvious? That's not professional.
Oh, you don't look like you're in your 20s.
I am. Just not, how you say, aging gracefully here.
Well, not everything is related to this show, but on episode 59, we covered that child actress who had a few bit parts about 50 years ago, and she wasn't exactly aging gracefully. You can hear it on the Karl Gerber with the K channel on YouTube. Subscribe, join the cult.
Angel. That's Angel. I'm dating her daughter.
Figures. I recall she had some bad genes, just like her mother.
They really did fire me because of my head.
Head or hair?
What's this Crown Act you keep firing people because of their hair?
The law was enacted because the California Senate thought European norms are still supposed to be class, and people think certain hairstyles are associated with blackness, notwithstanding lots of marijuana-toking whites and Latinos have dreadlocks, which have not been washed in months. And many of my people have afros, and my people are not black, and afros are cool, and nobody discriminates against afros, but now we've got the Crown Act on the books.
It sounds like you're not a big fan of this law here.
There are too many employment laws, An employer these days definitely needs an in-house employment lawyer. I don't see human resources, even if they have a certificate or a degree in human resource management, being able to properly advise the company, conduct sexual harassment investigations, figure out which leave of absent law applies, or how to calculate pay and properly itemize those deductions and all on the pay stubs.
Weasels without tails. And you represent employees.
I'm extremely selective about what cases I get involved in, and many technical violations are out there, and they're just not a sell to a judge or a jury. I'm not sure I want to get involved in representing some white jerk with an afro who has bed bugs living in his afro that are falling into the grass seeds he's sprinkling on top of some piece of quinoa, is that how it's pronounced? That's going to get filled with tofu and unwashed lettuce. Hey, wasting water is bad for your grandchildren.
Are you serious about companies needing their own employment lawyer over at the company? I mean, I can kind of see that, I've been involved in a couple of cases.
Horseradish, what's the deal with that employer firing you on account of your head or hair?
They didn't like my hairstyle.
presuming the Crown Act is retroactive, because I assume you were fired before July 1st, 2019, the Crown Act deals with certain ethnic hairstyles, which I don't think are necessarily ethnic, and claiming they are offensive, in my opinion.
Yes, they fired me at 11:59 p.m. on June 30th, 2019.
Odd. It's almost like they wanted to fire you before the Crown Act took effect. Real bite out of the employer's pocketbooks that little thing's going to take. I mean, took effect.
Definitely. We'll win the case on the timing of the termination decision alone.
Timing isn't everything.
Me and Angel's daughter. We always try to time it so we finish at the same time.
The mere thought of two people in their 20s who have aged so poorly, and then what you're doing. Ugh!
Just because we look a lot older than we are, we're still kids, experimenting, we're having fun,
Again, I'd rather not think about that.
It is sort of gross, I guess, the two of us flushing our toilets, at the same time.
Nutcase here! We got a nutcase here on the Karl Gerber Workplace Lawyers Show, episode 65. I don't know why this guy is here. He's going to tell us probably he sued everyone, and I got to tell you something. He doesn't look like he's in his 20s. He looks like he's about 54.
Take it easy there.
It's bad, people, but I do hope that you call me about a real employment case. And the Crown Act is real. We make jokes, but we talk about real laws and real odd epidemics like sex robots. So call me at the office at 877-525-0700 if you think you have a real age discrimination case. That's 877-525-0700 for a wrongful termination lawyer. I've got me and the people in my office. Please call during normal business hours during the week. 877-525-0700 for the funniest employment lawyer out there. That's me, right? I hope. All right. So if you're live streaming this, congratulations. If not, I do encourage you to go to the Karl Gerber with a K channel on YouTube. Subscribe, live stream if you need to. That's the way to get the show. And, if not, you're listening to KBC. That's good too. So we'll be back in a few minutes and we'll find out more about why this crazy guest is here on the Karl Gerber Workplace Lawyer Show on Talk Radio 790 KBC. Objection! This show sucks! And this is the Karl Gerber Workplace Lawyer Show, and I'm Karl Gerber on Talk Radio 790 KBC. I've got a weird guest here who looks like he's in his 50s, but he's only in his 20s because he's not aging gracefully.
Hey, because I look too old, It's like I've smoked so many cigarettes my hair's fallen out in patches. Yes. I decided to try one of those ever-growing Berber toupees, They are actually nylon.
Desperation. I'm sorry I said some things about you and your aging that didn't sound nice.
I was desperate. I did one of those payday advances, about 110% interest, The first week, 200%. The next week, I had to go bankrupt over that $6,000 loan.
Well, don't tell me you bought the Cindy D sex robot with a pay advance. We've all heard that 6,000 of non-pleasure, at least 6,000 medical bills if you buy that trap.
Nah, my girl and her mom went in and bought me that for my birthday in June. Oh, what a present.
You have the most loving girlfriend and girlfriend's mom.
Angel's so cool. Did you know she posed topless for an AMC Pacer ad?
Doesn't everybody? She carries it around, that picture from the recycler ad from 1975, where you can barely see her. You can see the dog peeing on the fire hydrant better than you can see her back.
Before you recently interpreted me, I was telling you about the payday advance.
Which should be illegal. You going bankrupt over a $6,000 loan you took out when?
June of 2019.
You're already going bankrupt over that?
I filed at least. Yeah.
Well, there's nothing more to discuss about your termination case. The bankruptcy filing pretty much wipes out your ability to collect money from your employer. A lawsuit is an asset, and all of your assets are at the mercy of the bankruptcy trustee once you go bankrupt.
No, just the bankruptcy trustee has to give permission.
And you're going to be real motivated to show up for legal appearances on your employment case when all the money from that lawsuit goes to the bankruptcy trustee so your debts can be paid?
Hey, it's totally worth it.
What? Going bankrupt to get away from the payday loan?
No. When me and my girl flush our toilets at the same time.
Even if you wanted to fight the employment lawsuit so all the money can go to repaying the payday loan, is it worth it? How big is this employment case?
It's such a big case. I know you'll want it. You'll want your 1% cut. I happen to think the media will be very interested. We should be able to get a lot of money.
Well, what do you consider a lot of money? It would have to be a 9-figure lawsuit. I wouldn't have to do too much work on for me to agree to a 1% contingency fee. That isn't exactly standard. Some people are charging 45 to 50% fees these days for employment lawsuits. Well, I'm not, but I understand why they do, given all the hours that go into these cases.
I know I would have to lower my expectations. I know I would. Settlement is a compromise.
Yes. And what are your expectations on the big case I know nothing about and can't judge whether you even have a case?
I would take 100 million. Don't tell anybody. I think that they will quickly pay more. I don't want them thinking I'd stoop to that, 100 million level of...
This case involves the loss of your job, right?
And dignity.
Well, how much were you making?
About $20 an hour. No. 30.
It's a big difference. Did your pay fluctuate?
Nope.
Well, I presume this was full-time employment, right?
Hey, look here. I know you wanted me to bring this here. You say pay stubs are like an x-ray to a wage and our lawyer, right? Well, check these dead puppies out. Look at that. I've got all my pay stubs, huh?
Well, there are only 3 pay stubs here.
Yeah, they paid me bi-weekly.
How long did you work at this job?
Maybe about a month. No. Must have been longer because I was there when Angel was on episode 59.
That was 6 weeks ago. Innocent, these pay stubs are a little bit deficient. They don't have an hourly rate on them.
I wasn't paid by the hour for what I did.
You made a total of $2,414.14 at this job.
Sounds about right.
Well, that's $402 a week if there were 6 weeks you worked there.
I missed a couple of weeks in there. Right there.
How many?
Just a couple. Doesn't everybody?
I'm not sure how many people miss a couple of weeks in their first 5 or 6 weeks of employment.
I had a lot of personal business to take care of,
I don't see how these wages compute to $20 or $50 an hour.
They also had to close for a week because they couldn't get a reliable labor, with me not being there for a couple of weeks.
Cincinnati, you gotta slow down. I'm not catching all this. I'm seeing numerous reasons to fire you other than the hair of your head.
They definitely fired me over my hair.
What hair? Did you have hair then?
Not exactly, but it was like real hair,
Don't tell me.
Yes, it's what you're thinking, Gerber.
You were desperate enough to go to a loan shark over an ever-growing Berber toupee that's actually nylon? Oh, you are a sickie.
I didn't go out and buy the most expensive one or anything like that. Bro, I'd have looked crazy in that Niagara blue pale dogwood. It's a pink, an island paradise that's a light blue, ever-growing Berber toupee that is actually nylon.
I'm having trouble processing this. Notwithstanding that you splurged on a $6,000 ever-growing Berber piece of crap head covering that's actually nylon.
They fired me for not sporting a more, up-to-date model. They said we were, a gig economy, weed delivery service, and I couldn't be wearing no grandpa's off-white herringbone model of the ever-growing Berber toupee that is actually nylon.
Oh, this case has nothing to do with the Crown Act. It doesn't protect people wearing atrocious toupees that keep growing and growing and growing if you don't tampume them 16 times a day with a high-speed vacuum device that was once touted as being able to perform an abortion before Myron Alfrombra, pronounced Madding but spelled M&M, got tight doing those 3-plug trims for that guy in the big house.
Bro, check this out. Don't worry. I watched my phone here. Look. Yeah, that's right. At the national level, they're going to pass a toupee act where you can't be discriminated against on account of wearing an ever-growing Berber toupee that is actually nylon.
Jeez, it's about time. I feel sorry for all those poor folks who suffered adverse job consequences because their employer cannot support those monstrosities.
Hey, if they make the national law retroactive, will you take my case?
I'm afraid I'd have to. That is, unless somebody is able to get a class action going and you're swooped into the class action.
No classy action to sue Myron Alfrombra, pronounced Madding but spelled M&M. You have to arbitrate those cases with a certified old codger or dunce who charges no less than $60,000 or so, for the arbitration.
Well, you know how it is. Our conservative Supreme Court favors arbitration at the expense of the consumer, anything to make it impossible to sue those big companies who incorporate in Delaware for some tax scam, but don't do a thing there.
Oh, okay. I've got another case.
How many cases do you have?
Lots of them.
Unfortunately, or fortunately for me, I don't represent repeat employee lawsuit filers.
I never have to file. All mine settle out of court.
I'm sure for mounds of money.
I got $16,500 on one.
Spectacular enough to buy 2 ever-growing Berber toupee models that are actually nylon.
You got it.
This is the Karl Gerber Workplace Lawyer Show on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We'll be back to hear more about this weird guest in just a minute.
I could be 60, I could be 70, I could be 80. Lots of reasons why I will not fail. Objection!
Talk Radio 790 KABC. This is the Karl Gerber Workplace Lawyer Show, and I am Karl Gerber, and I've got a detox from these weird guests Remus Helms keeps sending me.
Hey, Gerber, I'll tell you about the other case if you agree to represent me without knowing what you'll represent me on, huh? How about that?
I think I'll pass.
I'll talk on and on for a good 3 hours, tell you all the facts that aren't really facts for that matter, And you can read the ebook I published, on the case, and then get back to me. A lot of lawyers are reviewing the case.
Now, these are dead ringers for a lawyer not to take the case, even talk to the new client caller.
Hey, I've done my research, Hey, I've listened to every episode of this show. You're the man, Gerber. You're the man.
I thought you'd say you'd read all my articles on controlled standby or some weird trucking wage violation. That's what I hear sometimes when people call me at 877-525-0700 to see if I'll represent them on an interesting case for prevailing wages. Yes, 877-525-0700 during normal business hours. If you have to wait to be called to work by your employer, but you aren't paid for it, it's 877-525-0700 to talk to the real Karl Gerber workplace lawyer off air about a real job loss, wage owed, sexual harassment, maybe even a work injury.
How about a call just to pick your brain and get free legal advice? Can people call and do that too?
Not gonna happen. We have too many calls for that, and it would be malpractice to give serious legal advice on the phone without a 2 or 3 hour meeting and the review of documents. It isn't always the way it is, like the client is saying either. I told my wife I've learned as a lawyer there are two sides of the story, and she said I was disgusting for even thinking the man could have been right.
This case, I won't tell you about unless you agree to represent me. It's bigger than the mafia.
Great. An incredibly hard case that's likely to ruin me physically, if not economically advancing the cause.
You're pretty difficult, Gerber.
Well, I don't get fooled by all the claptraps potential clients spew out.
Every lawyer I've talked to says the case is too big for them. That's why I came to you.
This is a sketch comedy talk show that meanders around employment law. This isn't my office.
Wait a minute. It isn't? I thought this was your office right here.
Oh, true. Most lawyers hang out in front of a large console with something like 8 microphones positioned on different corners and a sound engineer looking in at us.
Yeah, I'm not going to laugh about the sound engineer like some of those, guests you've had, like Starlight.
Don't insult my weird guess.
I thought all of the microphones were press, for the press conferences and, when you go big time. That's what I thought.
And the sound engineer and the headphones we're wearing, what's their purpose?
Doesn't every lawyer record every word their client says? I know it must be important,
You have some strange ideas. Expectations, strange ones about lawyers.
I am pretty sure everybody thinks it's the way I'm saying it.
Is everyone this naive? I forgot you're in your 20s, but you haven't aged gracefully.
I haven't always delivered weed.
I really am glad. Talk about lazy. Can't they go to their friendly neighborhood bud store and pick it up themselves?
Hey, don't knock it. If you're completely buzzed, you shouldn't get behind the wheel.
What about getting even more buzzed? Don't these tokers have anything to do?
You should know the statistics. You should know the statistics show now that marijuana is legal. Fewer 17-year-olds try it. They think it's not cool anymore.
It isn't. It's stupidity and quite a waste of money. Get high on life.
Really? Is that an option here?
Well, we've covered a non-employment case, clarified this isn't my office.
Okay.
I guess you could be going now, citizen.
Hey, wait a freaking minute here. I've got more cases, Gerber.
There's a number for virgins to call. I mean, employees who haven't sued before, because I don't represent employees who are repeat filers, and that number's 877-525-0700 during business hours. That's 877-525 for the most rockin' workplace lawyer in California. Not me. 877-525-0700 if you want experience and seriousness. I am so damn serious during the week, I've just got to do this show on Sundays.
Well, I'm here now, Gerber, and I'd rather ask you in person.
Go ahead. Waste my time with another non-case.
I'm telling you, this one is bigger than zip ties.
Well, the funny thing about it is, I don't own any zip ties. I'm a boater, so I use ropes.
You aren't into chains, huh?
We call that a rode, and we use it for anchors. I happen to have an automatic windlass on my boat.
Yeah, my girl is in her 20s. But you wouldn't think she's a lass because, she hasn't aged too gracefully.
Maybe if she had said grace every night, things would be a little bit different.
Funny. That's what a mom Angie says about herself. All those wild days in the 70s. Being in that Remus Helms film. The boyfriend who said, she had to hold up. All the coke. All
The case that's bigger than road, please.
Okay. Hey, this might take a couple hours here, I've got to tell you the whole story. I got this minimum wage job.
A truly magnificent way to start a story.
Ain't it, though? Okay. So they said they needed me on the weekends. I needed time for my social life, right? So, during the week, I have this social life, and I was pretty reluctant to take a weekend job.
I wonder what this guy does in his social life. I don't even want to think about it. Senescent, were you working during the week?
No.
How many hours were you hired on for?
1 weekend night a week.
This is an incredibly big job. Oh, I can imagine the lost wages now. $11 or $12 an hour for maybe a 4 or 5 hour week.
But they gave me more hours. Yeah, I was up to 15, huh?
Yeah, serious, barely part-time job for a man in his 20s who looks like he's in his 40s or 50s.
You saying I look your age?
Probably older.
Weasels. That's a low blow. At least you're honest, though,
Did they fire you from this big 15-hour-a-week minimum wage job that the employment defense lawyer will argue could be replaced in a week or two?
It's not that easy for a guy in his 20s who looks like he's in his 40s or 50s to find, a very part-time-ish, minimum wage job, huh?
You may have a point. I presume preference for those gigs are given to high school and college students.
That's age discrimination.
Age discrimination is over 40.
I could sue for age discrimination because I haven't aged gracefully, And everybody thinks, I am in my 40s or 50s.
Well, I said the same thing to Angie. If you have a medical condition, a genetic condition that's the cause of the adverse employment action due to the condition, it might be discrimination. But if you brought the aging on yourself by diet, drugs, booze, sleep patterns, lots of accidents, and bad plastic surgeons, maybe even a failed plastic surgery, and real poor hair dye jobs, you're just a stupid fool. And being a stupid fool isn't a protected characteristic under the employment discrimination laws.
I was working at a restaurant.
Were you part of the wait or bartending staff if you were at the hottest place in town and the tips can't be beat? Maybe you have wage loss.
Nah. All the tips went to the restaurant manager.
Fantastic. Maybe you could represent a group of employees in a PAGA action for labor code violations due to an evil tip-stealing scheme.
You said evil, Mr. Gerber. Evil doesn't begin to describe where I worked.
I've heard that from a lot of employees.
This was way different, bro. Look, you don't know what they were doing.
Was it illegal?
Totally illegal. Might be treason.
A restaurant committing treason?
This was like a front.
Oh, organized crime. Was this a mob-run restaurant? I've sued the mob, various mobs a few times. Those cases can be futile when it comes time to collect. I did collect some money, at least, from 2 different mobs. I can't say the names of those mobs on the radio.
Oh, that's sick, bro. Super extra sick.
Super extra sounds like a millennial or 20s term. All right, this is the Karl Gerber Workplace Lawyer Show on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We'll be back in just a minute to find out what this guy's next case is supposed to be.
I could be 60, I could be 70, I could be 80. Lots of reasons why I will not fail. You're a walking talk. Kitchen.
Talk Radio 790 KABC. This is the Karl Gerber Workplace Lawyer Show, and I'm Karl Gerber. Sometimes I wonder if my guests have any brains. They're so weird. We've got Citizen on here, and I'd tell him I'd rather not get involved in suing a business owned by criminals, serious criminals at least, who murder, torture, stuff like that, bribe witnesses. I am so sick of these lawsuits against small employers where their owner goes around bribing witnesses and buying people off.
That's thirsty. Why don't they just, pay if they've got all that cash, huh?
I'm talking about hardened criminals and sociopaths who'd rather get ahead bribing witnesses and paying people off. These civil courts are a bunch of lame hits. They don't have the sports balls to do anything to the bad guys. They're like everybody else. They like to beat up on the small guy.
Skirt. It's really like that, huh?
Unfortunately, if you're owed tips by a criminal enterprise, it might be better for you to go with the labor board. For instance, I recently read a published opinion where the labor commissioner went after my old temple for not giving the early education center teachers 10-minute breaks. It seems the labor commissioner was more effective than private counsel would be.
Your old temple, huh? Did you leave because they were crooks?
Oh, not really. My kid graduated and everyone moved on.
Dang. I was hoping there was more to the story. Sounded juicy there.
Yeah, I was hoping there was more to your story about the minimum wage part-time job.
Tips being turned over to management. Ain't heavy enough for you?
Well, it is. It's just got to be a collectible employer to do a contingency case. Whistleblowers complain about illegal conduct. No, that doesn't bother me. It's when the employer is a sociopathic, hardened criminal who doesn't use a bank.
I just know you want this one.
I can't get involved in these small employer cases. The owner takes it so personally. The bribes, the payoffs. And what if the owner isn't a bad guy and it hurts them to be sued and you've got a greedy client looking to put them out of business, which doesn't do the client any good because they won't collect a dime. There are actually a lot of employees like that, very, very bitter about their employer.
Hey, I know this place. There's a lot of stuff going on there. You'd like to know about it, let me tell you.
How many employees do they have?
About 30, But I was the only one on the payroll.
Criminal enterprise, money not put in the bank, probable sociopathic owners who won't go through the court system normally, not attractive.
You know what I found out?
All that stuff you did, like the drug, smoking, it aged you unnaturally.
Your clap back is right on, But I think this place wanted to kill people.
Well, you said it was part of organized crime. Of course they want to kill people.
Not like the mafia, real hardcore, Even worse, like the villain out of In Like Flint. You seen that
Oh,
one?
that's a great reference.
Oh, yeah.
Anyone under 50 has no idea what that was.
James Bond spoof, They were plotting mad people trying to take over the world, like not, girls, though, at a restaurant. One guy, maybe one guy, and some people in politics, something like that.
Well, this sounds really imaginative. Where is this place?
Gardena.
Gardena. The last time I went there, I leaped off a roof in the lemur pose after I kicked down some crazy dude with brass knuckles. Actually, bad mediator was the cause of that debacle.
Yeah, they have brass knuckles at that restaurant.
What exactly were you fired?
I went into the dumpster, one night to dump out the trash. There was all this rotting lettuce, I didn't want to look into the dumpster, but I did.
You've got to look in the dumpster. What if somebody dumps something in there they shouldn't have? You've got to be a good citizen. Keep alert, give a hoot.
Yeah. That's what my mom always said, Anyway, I saw all these dumped noodles cooked. I thought, You know what was weird about this?
Let me guess. They weren't actually noodles at all. They were imitation lo mein made out of ever-growing pieces of nylon.
How in the world did you know?
You really think Pho Chinese restaurant hasn't been the subject matter of this program?
I didn't think anybody else knew about this.
Did you happen to listen to episode 62? I was out with Father Rishi Udinsky and his 73 Stutz Blackhawk cruising for labor law violations, and we chanced upon the tip pooling scheme and the dumpster of fake lo mein noodles that are actually nylon intended to be ingested, thereby causing gastric ruptures, even death.
That's exactly what I said. I went up to the restaurant manager, and I told him I knew what they'd been serving. He got all apologizing over the fortune cookies. He picked it out of the garbage to give to, the waitstaff in exchange for their tips. And they said he might be breaching a settlement on that issue. He offered me $20. I said, no way, bro. You can't even buy an ounce for 20, And he offered me some opium, and I said, no way, bro. I can't afford to age anymore,
Then how did you get fired?
The next day he found out, I called the FBI. I tried your office first, but you didn't take my call. I asked for you personally, by name and everything.
Did you give the lowdown to the call screener?
Why would I do that?
Because I'm not going to get on the phone if I don't have a name of an employer, don't know if there's a conflict of interest. Furthermore, why would I waste my time talking to some idiot on the phone refusing to give pertinent information to the call screener during a confidential screening process?
Well, you know what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all because the FBI, they never came,
How do you know the FBI knew about this?
I don't.
If Pho Chinese restaurant didn't know you called law enforcement on them, they couldn't have fired you for that.
Maybe they fired me for refusing the 20.
Could be they fired you for the conversation. Did you reference what it is you knew they were serving?
I didn't have to, I said that I would have been fired on the spot.
You had concerns you might be fired from a job that served ever-growing nylon disguised as lo mein to their liberal customers, didn't you?
Them being liberal, that didn't bother me, even though I listened to this station during the week.
You missed the point. Wouldn't it be better to be fired, be able to collect unemployment, maybe even have evidence you were fired for complaining about something illegal when the employer was looking to harm the customer's health?
I didn't know their intent until I listened to episode 62.
I thought you were amazed. I knew about this place, this scheme, etc.
Oh, I did?
Did you really work at Pho Chinese restaurant?
Not recently. Like 5 months ago, yeah.
Did you really challenge the manager about knowing what they served?
Sort of, yeah.
What is that supposed to mean? The employee lawyer will catch the inconsistency. If they don't, the other side will, or the judge will, or the jury will. You can't go into lawsuits based on, half-baked truths and falsehoods.
Maybe I could be a witness.
In what?
When you do the next show about Pho Chinese restaurant, that would work, right?
And doesn't the name senescent mean beyond middle-aged? I hope somebody learned something listening to this. I don't even have a word for this guest. All right, so what we have talked about tonight is the Crown Act is real. There really is a law that just got passed in California to get rid of problems with people that have what are referred to in the law of ethnic hairdos. I read the law, and I personally think the way the law is written, it's discriminatory and offensive to black people, but that's besides the point. It had to be enacted, and so now you can't be fired for having a hairstyle that is consistent with ethnicity or a style you have to have because of your ethnicity. And I don't know who's going to bring that case first, and I don't know, but we just get a lot of employment laws, and July 1st is when some of them come out. January 1st is when some of them come out. We also covered a little bit about age discrimination. You have to be under 40 to not have a case and over 40 to have a case, because age discrimination is just based upon conduct or job termination if you're over 40. If you haven't aged gracefully and you happen to be under 40 and someone thinks you're over 40, I'm not sure there is such thing as perceived age discrimination. And, you know, if you just look bad because you've had a bad lifestyle and you're a loser, there really isn't a cause of action for that either. We are following, of course, Myron Alfrombra, pronounced Manning, but spelled M&M. He is the villain in this show, and I do have grave concerns about his ever-growing Gerber toupees that are actually nylon and people spending $6,000 or more on those monstrosities. And our guest tonight told us about another color combination. It just sounded horrific. So if you do need legal representation, you're an employee and you're ready to sue, we don't have time just to answer questions. 877-525-0700 for my office during the week. I have offices all over California. It's me and it's the associate attorneys who work for me. We've got a new staff, great paralegal staff helping out now too. That's 877-525-0700 for really one of the original employment lawyers. I have to say I've been doing this now longer than really anyone who's still practicing and representing employees. And I've only been doing it since 1993, but I think everyone now calls himself an employment lawyer, and that is a little scary. I don't know if they've even tried a case or done an appeal or anything like that. So 877-525-0700 to get representation if you've been fired from your job, you're owed a lot of wages. Work injuries we'll also talk about, and sexual harassment. But if you just have a question, you're calling in third party, that doesn't work. So this is the Karl Gerber Workplace Lawyer Show on Talk Radio 790 KABC, heard Sundays 7 through 8. We'll be back next week for more fun. Until then, have a great week at work.
This show furnished by Karl Gerber and Employment Lawyers Group.